Good evening, legends. Bitcoin has been providing some wild volatility lately, which is fantastic for traders such as ourselves. So I do want to talk about some price levels I'm currently watching because I think we're at an interesting point in the charts right now. My personal opinions about the market, a couple strategies I like to use when it comes to scalping, risk management. My most recent scalp, which I just took recently, earlier this afternoon. We'll see if I stay in it for this stream. And yeah, just that sort of thing, guys. So, as always, to start things out, I am going to be taking a look at the overall market health. So, I like to start by zooming way out to the weekly chart every week here and then kind of dialing it in, just zooming in and really pinpointing what's going on here. So, just starting off at the weekly here, I still think Bitcoin is in a good position. I know I've been saying for about 13 or 14 months now, basically ever since the FTX collapse happened here, I was saying that if this is going to be the final capitulation, that I think we will eventually see our first very strong rejection up at that 618. And obviously at this point of the game, everybody is watching that level. So, I mean, what tends to happen quite often is if everybody's watching a level, we're all going to be wrong. So maybe we get some sort of a short squeeze up and test some of these higher Fibonacci's. That's something that we have to consider. But overall, I mean, I've been talking about this level for such a long time at this point, and I was being laughed at when I first started talking about that, because when you really zoom out, and yeah, obviously it took a year to play out, but that's because this is a weekly chart. People have a hard time understanding that when you zoom out and look at a weekly chart, there's no reason it should look any different than an hourly chart, a 4-hour chart, a 5-minute, a 1-minute, whatever. Market structure generally does the same things. So if we had this, just pretend all these numbers on the sides aren't here. Just pretend that this is just a basic small time frame chart. It would look totally normal. But the fact that it's happening on a weekly chart, people just have a really hard time zooming out because everybody wants the immediate returns, want to be in and out of their positions immediately, or just in an instant profit kind of a thing. So that's where it's just hard to zoom out and get that overall view of the market. So if you're ever in doubt, just zoom out, really see what's going on here. I mean, as far as market structure goes, we can go back to any bear market here. Obviously at the start, I'm going to call this phase 1 of the bear market because it's just where the bull market really consolidates before that phase 2 happens, where we get that final capitulation. But every bear market, we kind of form that very strong support level for an extended amount of time. Eventually we lose that level, take quite a decent plunge to the downside there, and then start treating that level as a little bit of resistance, which here, although we never quite got up to this box, I mean, that could be just because we have the structure back here as well. But you can see that we were having a hard time getting above that level, but when we did reclaim this box, it acted as very significant support. Just 1 second here. So yeah, that's just something to watch for moving forward. That obviously we had our next market cycle, same thing, right, guys? I mean, we did have this black swan event. Obviously, that was when COVID happened. The whole economy shut down. Yeah, you know, these things happen. Had it not been for COVID, I'm really under the belief that we would have ended up holding this level because, like I said, phase 1 of this bear market, I was around for all of this. And obviously we had a little bit of trouble just below it, but again, we weren't seeing a harsh rejection. We were just consolidating below that level and then blasted through and then treating that as support until, like I said, black swan event. But once we really had a firm hold of that support box, that's where it was just kind of parabola on from there. So same thing with this market cycle, guys. Nothing has to repeat itself. Obviously, anything can happen, but just looking from a structure point of view here, the same thing. We had very nice support here for an extended amount of time for this phase 1, just before the bear market really capitulated there. When the market started recovering, you know, we did break that downward trend because we had this low, lower low. This would have been our lower high on that trend. When we broke that level, we still struggled at this level, which was old support flipping into new resistance. Totally normal to see in a chart. That's basic chart patterns or basic structure. But the fact is that we just never saw a real harsh rejection. Yeah, these moves felt like harsh rejections, but again, when you just zoom out, really nothing too uncalled for. I mean, structure's still intact. We're just setting a series of higher lows, higher highs, and the trend continues. So as far as the structure point of view goes on the weekly chart, I think Bitcoin's in a very nice spot still. I am still expecting these higher prices, but obviously I am more of a scalper myself anyways. When I'm trading with leverage, I like to get in and out of the market very quickly because I trade with high leverage and it's obviously very high risk, so I don't feel comfortable being in the market with that for a long time. So I personally like scalping, and everyone has their own trading methods. That's totally fine. The way I see it, if you can trade one chart, you can trade them all. It's just a matter of sticking to whatever chart you're trading. So but as it stands, I really wouldn't be too surprised to see us go a little bit higher yet. Like I said, maybe even an unexpected squeeze up even higher. We're going to have to see how that plays out because obviously the market doesn't give a shit what I think. But I really do think as long as we hold this box of support, I think whenever we do see some sort of a harsh rejection, I'm really thinking we kind of pull back towards that $32,000 to $28,000 level, just kind of once again just retesting this support box. And then I think it's going to be off to the races, and especially if we can get a weekly close above this 618 fib, because just looking back to previous market cycles, I know this is going to be old news to you guys, or to a lot of you anyways. But the reason I'm watching that level is previous bear markets, it's obviously been a very harsh level of resistance for the market. But on the opposite end, as soon as we get that weekly close above that level, it's just parabola on basically. Same with going back to this market cycle back here. Same thing, guys. We test that 618. We see about, what is that, a 40% correction, I believe it was. Yeah, 40% to the downside. As soon as we got that weekly candle close above that level, flipped it into support, and again, parabola on. So very important level in the market, in my opinion. We're going to have to see what happens. But with that in mind, let's zoom in a little further. Let's go into my 4-hour chart here. This is going to look a little chaotic at first, but bear with me here. Actually, I am going to erase these arrows. That's more based on my indicator strategy, which I'll get into in a little bit here. But just starting off looking at market structure, Bitcoin obviously does have some very nice support. I mean, the thing is, no matter what happens to Bitcoin at this point, we do have so many support levels. We're just creating more and more support as we just climb to the upside. We had this ascending triangle down here. Got that breakout. I think we even got we got even more than a measured move, so that was great to see. But we ended up eventually dropping this upward sloping trend line, very quickly regained it, just seeing this very little bit of a fake out. So we have to ask ourselves, I mean, this to me looks like a lot of strength from the bulls. The fact that they were able to lose a support trend line that goes all the way back to October, middle of October. So a very serious level of support. And even now that we reclaim that level, you can see we came back, tested it again, and just continued climbing. Have a new high, higher high. This would be our higher low currently on this little staircase upwards. So yeah, the price doesn't look too bad. One thing that I do want to be cautious about is Fibonacci's. You guys know one of my favorite tools to use when I'm scalping, when I'm swing trading, when I'm doing basically anything. Fibonacci is basically the tool that I use the most other than these indicators. It's really the only other thing I use. And just going from where we have topped out with the market so far to where we ended up pulling back, just looking for a potential rejection level. Well, look at that. We're starting to see some resistance right in my favorite Fibonacci pocket, that 886, 786 fib level, which I talk about in all my videos whenever I'm scalping, basically anything. I love that pocket when I'm looking for entries. So that is something to be a little bit cautious of. Again, we're not really seeing too harsh of a rejection here. So I mean, really not seeing one at all yet. So I don't know if that is something we have to worry about. It is just something to be a little bit cautious of. And obviously right above that, we do have also this level of resistance for our current local range here. Now I want to bring up the indicators. I'm actually going to remove my drawings here, because this is where I get into some of my strategies with the indicators, just looking at them for confluence here. One thing that I really love using with these indicators is, and most of you guys know this by now just from my posts in the Discord, from my videos here, I love looking at which way these W's are trending. And you can see that for quite some time now, we've just had them setting higher highs, higher lows. I mean, we have this high, higher high, higher high, higher, 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 higher. Basically just the odd little fake out where you get this little bit of a warning that, hey, this is actually setting a lower high. So it's one of those times where you got to be a little bit cautious. But again, just setting low, higher low. Invalidation for that kind of a signal is beyond the previous signal. So that's one of those very high risk setups where that's not an ideal setup, because the invalidation level is so far back. I mean, you really can't use much leverage in that kind of thing. And this is one of those times as well where we did get this little bit of a warning that, hey, the trend may be reversing because we set a lower low there. But these W's never agreed with each other. The only time where we ended up seeing these low, lower low, then we add this high and the slightly lower high. So we do right here technically have lower lows, lower highs. That was actually a great short signal. We have our take profits with the next higher low here. And once again, we're on the long train. We have higher highs, we have higher lows. Just every time we get those higher lows when these W's are trending like this, I mean, just look at how beautiful of entries those are. When I'm using this strategy, I'm not at all interested in any of these highs or higher highs as far as looking for shorts. But what I am interested in is these higher lows. I mean, just look at how so many of these entries, they were all absolutely perfect along this trend. So that's such a powerful little bit of confluence. I use that in my scalping when I'm looking at spot positions, when I'm looking at swing positions. I love that. That's one of my favorite bits of confluence, that and Fibonacci's. And in my one-on-one mentoring, that's what some of my strategies that I really aim to make everybody professionals with. The strategies that I use, because I think when it comes to scalping and even longer term investments, I think some of these strategies are so valuable. And a perfect example is just looking at near. I actually picked up a bag of this last night for this breakout here. I know some of the coaches and some of the people in this group have been in near a lot earlier, obviously. I just ended up buying a bit of a spot bag last night because we had this breakout above resistance on the 4 hour here. And you can see that we were just staircasing nicely. We had this high here. We end up breaking that higher high. What's our higher low in that sense would be this red line down here would be invalidation of that structure. Then we set a higher high again. Our lowest point between there is actually about there. Well, yeah, we might have wicked below, but basically giving yourself a little bit of wiggle room. I always like to kind of go one structure point past when I'm looking at my stop losses, just to give a little bit of wiggle room there. But again, we just staircased very nicely above that. We set higher high again. Then we confirm this as our higher low. Now we have a higher high again. Now we have a new higher low. Near is looking very good structure-wise. I mean, yes, obviously it's getting a little bit, it's looking a little bit FOMO-y right now. It's obviously hard to wait for a pullback when you see this kind of thing. But so far, it's just been staircasing so nicely to the upside. I just had to buy a bit of a spot bag for that. And just going back to my indicator strategies and how they can also provide confluence when looking for that kind of, just a spot collection, even just looking for investments or longer term plays, looking for those swing trades, because I know not everyone's into scalping. A lot of people want the more passive trading style. Same thing though, guys. Look at this. As soon as these indicators start giving us just a trend of higher highs and then look at these higher lows. Look how beautiful those entries have been on near. So even like I said, when you're looking for investments, even like, man, these strategies can be so powerful, giving you such beautiful entries on some of these positions. So it works in so many different trading styles. It's just like I said, one of my favorite little bits of confluence there. One of my other favorite things that I like to use for, I love using the 786, 886 fibs, like I was talking about earlier. I really, I think those levels are so important. I know that like a lot of people want to play breakout trades. And I myself also play breakout trades sometimes, but something you have to know about that is that obviously your invalidation levels are a lot further away, because your support, your higher low, is actually quite a ways away when you're looking at playing a breakout of a range especially. But that's where if I get some kind of a break of structure and then looking for a pullback, for example, let's just go here. We are obviously setting low, lower low, lower low. This would be our lowest high. We get a break of that. As soon as we end up breaking the structure to the backside or back to the downside, pull a Fibonacci from where our local low is to where we have topped out so far. And obviously that could move, right? Like if let's say we would have pumped higher, then I would have been basically moving my Fibonacci along, just following the trend basically, and just really looking for those entries along that 786, 886 fib. So that's something I did earlier today. Like I said, I was figuring that, hey, we had this little break of structure here. I'm going to pull a Fibonacci in case we end up pulling back quite a ways. What do you know? We end up pulling back to that 786, 886 fib pocket, stop loss, a little bit of wiggle room below our local lows, and very nice entry there. What I like to do in that case, I personally like to break up my orders. So in this case, not in the trade that I took over here, which is the one that I'm currently in, but I was also in another position. And what I like to do with those is kind of ladder in. So I like to put, a third of my order at the 786, a third at the 886, and a third at the double bottom level. That way it also just helps to minimize my risk a little bit, because I can bring my average entry down a little bit. But in this case, I only got one entry in at this level. Let me just pull this a little bit further. But what I've been doing, and actually the other day I ended up doing something like this, and I was actually hoping it would happen today as well. I guess it kind of did, because I got 2 trades out of this level. But the other day I set a range kind of like this, and I took the same trade 4 different times, I think it was, where we just kept dipping back down. I was playing like the 15 second or something, obviously super degen. And when I'm looking at playing those trades, if I'm on a 15-second chart, I'm going to be closing that position within a few minutes, basically. But I like to ladder in along these 786, 886 double bottom level. And then as we just test some of these other fibs, just taking profits along the way. Very simple strategy for using the Fibonacci's basically, and just taking those little scalps. Obviously, the bigger time frame you're going to play, the bigger swings those are going to be, and that sort of thing. But yeah, sometimes when you can point out a range like this and you just kind of keep coming back into that level, and sometimes you can play the same position over and over. And in a day trading sense, that can just do wonders. It's one of my favorite things to do when I can keep playing the same trade. But yeah, looking at the chart right now, I wouldn't be all too surprised to see us have a little bit more of a correction. Let's see if this is just the 1 minute chart, but I'm just going to pull up a little bit of, there might be a little bit of a falling wedge or something like that. But on the 1 minute, like, it's pretty messy. Honestly, I'm more interested in seeing this resist break after a couple more touches than I'd be interested to see if we do end up getting another breakout, some kind of a bull flag. But going back to the Fibonacci, if we are going to get some kind of a retrace, this is where kind of the same thing, right? I mean, from where this swing started down here, I just pull a Fibonacci from down here, going to where we've topped out so far, and basically setting that as a potential scalping range. We obviously have to see what happens, because we're not at my level of interest yet. I'm still in part of my position. Stop loss and a decent little profit here. It's a 69x trade. But what I'm interested in seeing is if we end up holding this 382 for now. Quite often in a strong trend, that's the Fibonacci that you'll see actually end up supporting, or if you're in a downtrend, that's kind of where you start to see rejection. But in a strong trend, the 382 fib is a very important level. I find quite often when we end up starting to close candles below that, even if we get some kind of a bounce, so often we end up just working our way back down towards this Fibonacci pocket. And I find that so often if we lose that 382, that we are targeting this 786, 886 fib. So that's a level. Once again, I will look to basically play the same position that I have played twice this afternoon already. I'd absolutely look at playing it again if we end up pulling into that level. So gonna have to see what happens there. Is there any altcoins or anything you guys want me to go over? I will look at a few here. My thoughts on near. We keep staircasing higher. Things are looking pretty good. What's another on Propc I wanted to take a look at? This has been one of my spot bags. Once again, looking not too bad. We did have this little bit of a warning. It's messy because we got a bunch of chart structure in the middle of us here, but we did technically set a lower high here. On top of that, well, we did actually set a lower low, but this is already flipped. So we're getting a bit of mixed signals if we're using the indicators as confluence right now, because we did just set a higher low here. Lower high. So yeah, we're getting mixed signals there. Looks like we broke out of some kind of falling wedge, testing off a nice demand zone there. This is another one of those times where it looks beautiful that, even if this coin does pull back, it's got a very low market cap, so absolutely it can get quite volatile. But even if we do pull back, just look at the demand zones that the indicator is throwing up. All these green boxes, I haven't mapped those out. That's all the indicator doing that. There's obviously a lot of demand here. And yeah, even if we pull back, obviously the bulls are ready to kind of step in. So I think watching the trend of these W's will definitely be some good spot buy opportunities and that kind of thing. I actually want to bring up the signals as well, just to see what the long and short signals are saying. I typically usually don't have those up, but we can kind of use these signals the same, actually. You can use them to spot out a trend, because once again, we just see if sell signals are getting higher, obviously you're not wanting to take the sell signals, but instead you'd like to see the buy signals getting higher, right? Higher buy, higher buy, higher buy, higher buy. So obviously a nice trending market there. And now we have the buys starting to get a little lower. So again, just kind of using the signals to help you spot a trend, or just even when to be cautious, just as a little bit of risk management and that sort of thing. So yeah, hopefully here, let's just see what the other indicators are saying here. Kind of in no man's land right now. Something to mention as far as using the indicators, one thing that I really like to do as well is seeing a few of them line up. Up here you can see I have my band oscillator. We have bullish pivot as well as bearish exhaustion here, or exhausted bears rather. We have the advanced trend here with bright green candles, as well as a reversal warning. And as well, we had this bullish pivot, and once again, bears exhausted symbol down here on the oscillator stack. So all three of these indicators were lining up perfectly with each other. And yeah, I mean, obviously we did get a nice little pump after this level. How much did this thing end up going up in the end so far? Yeah, could have picked up 20% gains on that kind of a signal. So again, nice to see all the indicators lining up. And that's one of the reasons why I actually have my candle colors inverted as well. That's one thing that I do with my settings here. You can see that with my settings on these indicators, I really don't have a lot active. I have normally I don't even have these signals up. I have the reversal warnings, that's those W's. I have the supply and demand zones, that's those red and green boxes. And when I'm scalping, I have the trends up as well. But other than that, yeah, inverted colors, just because I like that when we go down, the candles are getting greener and greener, just to help line up with the other indicators, basically. Just a reminder that you want to be buying, buying the dip rather than buying when it's time to start selling and taking profits, kind of a thing. So I personally like having them reversed like that. Actually, another coin I wanted to talk about with you guys is Palm Swap. I know a lot of people in this group have bought in the past, or maybe even have it now. It has broke some interesting structure on a couple different time frames. Just a couple different downtrends that this coin has broken. And you can see that these lines, I personally like to have exact touch points. So we have 1, we'll consider that 2, 3, 4, and then flip that resistance into support and start getting this more of a rounding bottom. And something that's really interesting me right now, I think you guys know where I'm going with this, is look what the W's have recently done. Obviously, we were setting a series of lower highs. Many lower lows, an obvious downtrend pointed out by the indicator. Then we end up getting this little guy here. That is our warning. It's just a bit of an early caution sign that, hey, all of a sudden we have this higher high here. Start considering that, hey, this trend might be about to reverse, kind of a thing. And then we get that higher low, which that's the way I use this strategy. That's more so the buy signal at that point. And obviously it doesn't have to play out. Anything can happen because, like I said, the market doesn't give a shit what I think. But as far as using this strategy, that's kind of what I'm looking for as far as a buy signal. And I'm just comfortable holding this spot anyways because this is such a low market cap. It's one of those high risk gambles. I think the market cap's only like $1 million or something. Well, this is saying $500,000. I think it's actually a little more than that on CoinMarketCap. But yeah, this one isn't looking so bad. Obviously we're starting to see some staircasing to the upside. And just since it's such a low market cap, I was just willing to toss a little bit of a punt, a bit of a gamble at this one because I think decentralization is important. And this is another decentralized exchange. I've personally never used it even myself. Like I said, total gamble. I'm not much of a fundamentals guy. I'm more of a chart guy anyways. And yeah, just since it's such a low market cap and with these potential shifts in trend, willing to buy a small bag of that. So yeah, what other altcoins you guys want me to take a look at? Anything in particular? Otherwise, I was thinking of taking a look at Ultra. I thought there was Ultra on Bing as well. Yeah, whatever. What do we have here? Little bit of a warning there. We do technically have a lower high came into play here. And this was actually after we set a lower low. So this is basically where I'm looking at a bit of a warning that, hey, we broke this low here, set a lower reversal warning there, and then we set the lower high as well. So there is a little bit of a warning there. I'm personally still okay just accumulating this one a little bit. It is one of my spot bags as well because I don't know. I'm not overly interested in shorting the market right now. So I'm less likely to take these sell signals right there. I'm more interested in when the market starts trending to the upside again. I have no problems taking those little high leverage, very scalpy shorts, but I have no interest in really holding on to a big one right now personally. Ave, or Ave, however you say that. Yeah, what do we got going on here? Nice to see that we're still climbing to the upside. We obviously set this higher high here because obviously we had resistance here. Invalidation of this trend at this point, to me, would be about there. So basically, I'm just looking at this as a high. We broke it with a higher high. Lowest point between those two is right down at this level. So that's what I'm looking at as our higher low currently. So yeah, it's still looking pretty good to me. What are the indicators saying? Little bit of confusion. We did have this little potential warning down here, but we still have the highs ever since back here. High, higher, high, higher, high, higher, high. Yeah, I would be interested in playing along on this if we ended up setting a bullish reversal warning fairly soon. Actually, what's a Fibonacci level we could look for in this case? So this is one of those cases where I like to set a Fibonacci as well, right? Because again, we broke this structure. So if we are going to get a pullback, and if this trend is going to continue, that's where I'm looking for that 786, 886 fib. We can't actually count this because we set this high after that. So I would be interested to see if we do actually come back down to these levels. I'd be interested in looking at positions at those levels. Ideally, finding more confluence in those levels, some kind of reversal warnings in that level, seeing some of the indicators showing bullish divergences. Actually, that's an interesting signal right now. Maybe we won't get that full retrace. Or if we look, let's really zoom in to more of a degen level here. Let's just say that theoretically we had this range down here. We end up breaking that. Let's just see what the fibs do from this level. Just curious. We did actually test that 786 perfectly there. So maybe we are just playing this little bit of a higher range here. We got this hidden bullish divergence here. And the thing about hidden bullish divergences, I actually prefer them over regular divergences personally, because regular divergences is kind of where you're looking for those reversal levels, whereas hidden divergences are generally more of a continuation of a trend, and the trend is your friend. I would personally rather play the trend than looking for reversals, because reversals only happen once. The trend continues until it doesn't. So I'm a big fan of hidden bullish divergences, or if I'm looking to short it, hidden bearish divergences. So there's a couple of things going for it right now even, but as far as where I like to trade from, we already missed my entry in that case, because I like to ladder in 786, 886 and double bottom, and then stop would be somewhere below this red line here. But that is a 4 hour, so it also depends what kind of a time frame do you normally look at. What are you looking at with this one? I just got to catch up on the old chat here. We have a very similar scalping style. Don't really use indicators for trade entry or executions, but been watching the W's a lot, and they really are strong the way you frame them. Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely love using them. Just even if you're not entering trades based on these W's and which way they're trending, I find that usually when a trade does bite me in the ass, when I do lose trades, most of the time, I'm going to say 80% of the time, it's because I ignored which way the W's were trending, and I just got stubborn and thought that I knew better, and I fought my own strategy. That's usually when I end up losing positions. I think it's such a strong bit of confluence. So if you can see, for example, the market trending up with the W's and then finding those Fibonacci pullbacks and stuff like that, that added confluence can be so powerful. What do I think about the 705 fib level? I've never used it, to be honest. I could bring it up a little later. I don't want to start screwing with my settings here too much quite yet, but remind me at the end of the stream. I will take a look at that. And that, yeah, that would make sense too. A nice sweet spot between the 618 and 786. I've really been digging the 886 even more than the 786, just because that also tightens up your stop loss a little bit. So yeah, you're gonna hit less of your entries. Sometimes you're gonna miss the move, but that is trading, right? You can't force it. So I've really been liking those scalps right along the 886. I think I posted one last night in the chat, and it was just pinpoint accurate. Just a perfect entry. Just a nice tight stop when you can get into those further pullbacks. Because like I said, here's a perfect example, you guys, that here we have this resistance level. So many people are looking to play a breakout trade, and that's where you're longing because, hey, the structure changed. And yeah, absolutely it did. And this trade would very well could still play out in your favor. But realistically, people are probably already panicking out of those positions, even though invalidation is below this range. They're just going to see that, oh, we never got that breakout, so panic sell, panic sell, panic sell kind of a thing. But invalidation, this structure is still broken, and we still do technically have this higher low. So yeah, that's where, like I said, people are quick to panic out of that kind of a position, and it is because it is more risky. But if you can get those Fibonacci pullbacks from something like that, if we can get these entries down in here, here, and here, I mean, your average entry is somewhere right around the 886. Also, depending how you ladder in, right? Because a lot of people, myself included, will often do, a quarter, a half of the position or something like that, just to bring down your average entry even more. Just a form of risk management. So if you can get that pullback deeper into this level somewhere, obviously, even if you are wrong on your position and you get stopped out somewhere below that range, it's such a small loss compared to if you take it from all the way up there, right? So obviously, pullbacks are just a lot safer way of doing things. And those Fibonacci's can just help you pick those levels very nicely. Big time. Let's check out big time. So crypto, we'll check out a Mexi. Holy, I did see this one pumping the other day and thought, holy shit. Yeah, I can't just look at that structure break. Hey, as soon as it broke all-time highs. See, and it perfectly did test. That's one of those times where, hey, yeah, you know what? You never would have got that pullback. So take it for what it is. Totally depends on your own trading style, obviously. But yeah, that was a beautiful break in structure, and the market just grabbed the bull by the horns there. What can we even look for at this time? Interesting little bit of structure here. Candles are just looking a bit funny. Let me turn... yeah, whatever. Good enough. Just looking at how this structure did play out. That, we had this high. Where do we get our higher high? Right here we ended up having this little minor pullback. Then we end up breaking out of this level. That's where you have at least a tighter bit of structure, because now you have a confirmed higher low. Then we have a higher high. At this higher high, that's where we have this higher low. Then we set a higher high. I'm going to consider this all as one higher high, just because we never had candle bodies closing above this level. So I'm going to consider this our higher high. And now I'm looking at basically this as our higher low structure, and look at where we're consolidating currently. That's interesting. I don't like that we're tapping away at support so much right now, but I mean, support is support until it's broken. We've obviously, the bulls have stepped in at this level a lot already. So that is interesting. That is the structure level that I'd be watching. So yeah, that was a full fib retrace of this swing. If we do end up dropping that support, I mean, I think at that point, that's where we got to pull up a bigger fib. That's where, unfortunately, the market would be if we do drop that support, yeah, absolutely, we could be seeing a further, 35, 50%, really even retrace the whole thing. I'd say more realistically, that 786, 886 pocket, if we end up dropping that support. So yeah, absolutely, it's possible that there is a 50% correction to the downside. But again, we're still fairly close to support here. I mean, your invalidation level isn't all too far, just a little bit of wiggle room, maybe even below the 618, depending what kind of leverage you're using, obviously, and what kind of time frame you're playing. But yeah, so far that structure is okay. What else do we have here? What are the other indicators saying? We do have a regular bullish divergence here as we're trading at support here. We also had a reversal warning. That's nice to see. And that was after we did set some higher high W's and obviously a higher low W. So that's another point for the bulls there. The indicator is outlining a little bit of supply zones, though. You can see that we're starting to form these supply boxes above us. So that is something to be a little bit cautious of. But again, it doesn't look too bad yet. As long as we hold above this support box, I think it's okay. As soon as we drop that, I mean, the floodgates could really open. But yeah, we'll have to see. Also, it depends. Is it just a wick? Do we just get a wick below and then get bought back up and the candle body closes back in support? In my opinion, in that case, that could be showing a lot of strength from the bulls, and then you have your invalidation level below the previous wick. But that could be just kind of some kind of a bullish, just a fake out, and actually some bullish momentum coming out through there. What else can I say about this? What else can we look for as far as rejections, patterns? Let's just see if we can find some kind of a wedge. I do like how well that's respecting. The thing is, something to be a little bit cautious of here, guys. We have to see which way this pattern breaks. That looks an awful lot like a descending triangle. Lower high, flat support, lower high, flat support, just tapping away at support. I mean, those of you who were around at this market cycle know exactly what I'm talking about. This was a very infamous descending triangle, and that can lead to, capitulation, basically. Much like how, we had this ascending triangle. Where was that now? I think it was somewhere along here. We had this ascending triangle. So this would obviously be the opposite if we end up breaking this support. That's where we have to start considering the possibility that this thing is absolutely going to dump off a cliff. But like I said, we still do have this higher low structure. So we have to see what happens right now. I mean, we're coiling up so tight. I really have no idea which way this is going to break at this point. We start closing candle bodies above this resistance now that we've had, a few exact touch points. When I'm looking at trend lines, I always like exact touch points. I do include the wicks, and I don't go for the majority of touches. Everybody has their own way of trading trend lines and looking at trend lines. I personally like to have 3 exact touch points, and this is one of those cases where we absolutely do. So I think there is definitely some potential here to see which way this ends up breaking. Some kind of a breakout play. If we do end up breaking down to the downside, then you could enter a momentum short, have your stop loss maybe just above this structure back here with a little bit of wiggle room. That's a potential play as well. Obviously, if we break above this trend line, come back, retest it, then obviously invalidation, just a little bit of wiggle room below that triangle, depending which way that breaks out. Near, I was actually talking about near earlier. I can go back to it. I was talking about how the W's are trending beautifully. We had a nice breakout last night, and I actually ended up buying a bit of a bag last night for this breakout. just staircasing higher. I think near's in a good position. Eng, I can take a look at that in a second here. And yeah, looking at more bull cycle possibilities. Yeah, I'll take a look at Eng here. I'm not sure where would have the most history. Does MEXC have quite a bit of history on this one? Oh, no, barely any. I assume Binance has a ton. Oh yeah, and this one has a lot of history, so let's actually zoom out a little bit further if we're looking for more macro possibilities here. Oh, that's interesting. That is interesting. One thing that I can pretty much just point out by eyeballing right now is I can almost guarantee this is right around that 886 Fibonacci of the entire cycle here. Just pulling from this cycle bottom to our cycle top. Oh, actually even below it, an even bigger retrace. Actually, on the longer time frames, I have noticed that with a lot of coins. Even Bitcoin has had the tendency in the past on the more macro time frame to actually pull a little bit further than the 886. This is quite a bit, but let's look at more of a structure. Let's see what kind of... It looks like we do have this nice rounding bottom or even like a bit of a falling wedge here. I don't think it looks bad. I think actually this is very interesting. Thanks for bringing this to my attention. I'm thinking about picking some up, to be honest. On a weekly chart, that is a very well respected wedge, in my opinion. The way I look at wedges. Yeah, this is one of those times, and this is a weekly chart, you guys. So this is carrying a lot of weight, in my opinion. The fact that we have exact touch point, consolidating at the exact touch point for over a month, breaking above that resistance after those 3 touch points and retesting it perfectly from the other side now. Whew, that absolutely, in my opinion, has room to go. Even let's just look at more of horizontal levels. This is going to get a little greasy here. One sec. Obviously we have this low. We actually start setting lower low. Here, one sec. Yeah, like I said, this is going to be greasy because it's very tight coiled here. Let's go from this low over. We got these closes below and then actually even close a little bit below, making that structure kind of at this level where we ended up breaking and then getting above that. Yeah, I don't know, from a horizontal staircasing type of way as well as a diagonal trend line, I like the look of that personally. Obviously on the shorter time frames, it's probably going to be very volatile, but as far as a macro time frame, I might actually start building a little bag of that. Looking at possibilities where we could go, I mean, we just have to basically look at structure levels. Obviously, a lot of this will depend on how Bitcoin is acting. If we see Bitcoin dominance dropping, but the price of Bitcoin is not dropping, then absolutely, I think altcoins are going to do amazing in the near future. And so far, it is looking like, Bitcoin isn't seeing that real harsh rejection. It's just kind of consolidating sideways. So I think altcoins are in a good position. Just to map out a few random levels of resistance to watch for. Actually, Fibonacci's as well. I should really pull Fibonacci's, looking for the opposite, pull top to bottom. Holy man. Like even some of the very early Fibonacci's. Even if this thing doesn't end up breaking all-time highs, like I have no idea, to be honest. Like I said earlier, I am not a fundamental guy at all, so I just trade the charts as they come. But even if this doesn't get to all-time highs, I see no reason why it wouldn't at least start testing some other Fibonacci levels, and it looks like they are so far away. Even if we ended up testing that 618 eventually, I mean, it's over a 700% move to the upside. My more personal favorite Fibonacci levels, we're looking at over 1,000% to the upside, 1111. Yeah, definitely potential for some big moves there, unless something weird happens with that coin. Like I said, I don't know anything about the fundamentals or anything like that, but just strictly looking at the charts, I mean, yeah, there is still some resistance levels, obviously, because we had so much consolidation down here, but just how this wedge is looking like it's breaking out, I like the look of that personally. What's even the first Fibonacci level here? Even that is over a 200% move to the upside. That's interesting. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Gonna buy a few later.
Hey Stu, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm great. How you doing?
Good, man. Yeah, Engine, it's pretty fundamentally sound. It's a pretty strong project.
I know it's been
You know,
around
to
for a
add
while. Like I remember spot trading it back in the day, like years
back in
ago.
29, yeah, something like that. But I think has something to do with uh, I could be completely wrong. Last time I checked that out, was just like you said, was years and years ago. But I think it has to do something with like music, entertainment, and things like that. I could be wrong,
Oh, interesting.
but yeah, fundamentally, this coin is pretty sound. And literally, I've just seen what you just said about it, and it looks pretty juicy on a high time frame.
Yeah, like
And
I
if you
don't know. I don't know how it would be as far as trading volume and stuff. Trading it with leverage, I have no idea. But as far as a long term, there, just I do see the potential there.
Yep, I mean, it'll be stupid not to be honest with you on this. This is like a gold platter right here.
Yeah.
Whoever brought this up.
Oh man, yeah. Just look at how perfect on a weekly that is respected, and then flip into support there. Yeah, that looks juicy.
And just pay attention when it takes off. Look, it keeps on it keeps capitulating, and just boom, gone. You can't catch it.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, as soon as we get a close kind of above these levels here, well, then we obviously have a new higher low confirmed. So then structure is just staircasing higher. Even right now, our higher low is only down here. Yeah, I don't know. It just looks like it's about to start staircasing. We had this resistance back here. We get above it, boom. Get above that, staircase. What's next? Well, the staircase is most likely going to get bigger and bigger, as coins love to do. So obviously doesn't have to, but yeah, I like the look of that. Yep, I will be building a little bag for sure. Any other gems out there, Leggies?
Whenever I can wait my turn. Can you look at Secret CSRT? Make sure you look at it in a Binance chart or something like that because it goes back to like 12, $16, something like that.
Sorry, what was that? ERCT?
No, Secret. That's SCRT USDT. Make sure you look at it at a Binance chart because it's Nexi doesn't show that much data.
Oh, okay. Like here.
What you think, dude? What do you think,
Kind of
man?
the same thing. The exact same
Give it
thing.
to me. Yep, give it to me, buddy. I'm ready.
Yep. Exact same thing, pretty much. And that's the thing, like when the market gets into these cycles, since everything is a cycle, I mean, we just see the same thing just starting to play out on many different things all at the same time, basically, right? And same thing, let's just pull a Fibonacci looking for potential targets. I mean, even the first Fibonacci level is 1,200% away. We start hitting some more reasonable fib levels. I'm not saying it has to happen because who knows in the altcoin market what's going to thrive and what's going to dive. But yeah, potential 40xers there. I have no idea what the market cap is on something like that. What can we find for a fib this way? Yeah, same thing, almost a full retrace even below the 886. Looking for, let's say, if this one is going to break out, let's say this one does end up setting all-time highs. Just something to keep an eye on would be something like this. You know, if this thing is going to thrive this bull market, that is potential for a massive move. Yeah, potential 27, 30x's, something like that. Potential big moves there.
Hey, beautiful people. I just want to let you know, guys, do your own research. I know nothing about Secret. At least Engine is a pretty sound fundamentally, sure. But for as far as Secret, I have no idea. One of the teammates brought it up, and I kept eyeing it just because of the structure. So you might want to do a little bit of research before you jump into Secret. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah. When it comes to that, guys, every altcoin, obviously, do your own research. Everyone, the thing is, on top of charts, obviously, we can read charts and we can misanalyze things. Obviously, we've all lost trades. That's a part of it. Never forget that you can misanalyze or misunderstand fundamentals as well, and that's one reason why I never follow the news. I very rarely, other than Twitter, I really have no idea what's going on in the markets, and with the Discord, obviously. But as far as trading goes, I just like to follow just the charts, because once you start factoring in other things as well, I just find that there's more places where you can misunderstand or misanalyze things. So when you're looking at fundamentals, yeah, it's important to do your own research, because obviously whoever's looking at it, myself included, as not a fundamental guy, I don't know what's important, to be honest, other than when a chart starts breaking out. That's the important part to me. So yeah, what Ray? I did see Ray mentioned earlier. Oh, that thing's got some momentum, hey? What is that up this week? Yeah, 95% in a week. That's not bad gains right there. As for where it's
60%.
heading, I mean, it's cleared some nice resistance levels, not going to lie. Where's our next resistance? Basically way up here. What's the indicator saying? Any demand zones or supply zones it's going to bring up? Not really. Not a ton of chart history here, but yeah, it's definitely looking like momentum's on this guy's side. Can I zoom in? Is there anything that we can see a little more clearly on shorter time frames? Well, I mean, as far as the swing goes right now, I guess looking at basic structure here, we have this high. We did actually close some candle bodies above that here, so we now have a higher high in play, the way I look at it anyways. So I'd say invalidation of this. If it starts closing candle bodies below this box here, then yeah, it might start seeing a little bit of a pullback. This is on the 4-hour chart. But yeah, so far, I mean, I wouldn't want to bet against it necessarily. Just be cautious, because yeah, obviously when things are just getting the green dildo here, it can get quite volatile. Even if it's going to carry on to the upside, it wouldn't be all too uncommon to pull back to this daily level. This would be our higher low structure on the daily time frame. And I mean, that's basically a 50% retrace, if I'm eyeballing correctly. Yeah, 50% retrace. So be cautious with that one. But yeah, momentum is definitely on its side. I don't want to stand in front of a train, so it's looking good. Yeah, what kind of a move? If we are to reach this resistance up here, I mean, that's another 160% away. Let's see what we can find as far as fibs. Our first fib is actually at the little bit higher resistance. So even if we did something like this as a resistance box, definitely a level you'd want to watch out for. After that, I mean, yeah, there's these little pauses that the chart had, but no very serious resistance in my opinion until we start testing some of these higher fib levels. But yeah, obviously, it really, when it comes to altcoins like this, especially with ones I'm just going to assume a very low market cap just because of how the chart looks. But yeah, it'll largely depend on what Bitcoin's doing, I think. But as long as the market doesn't get spooked and Bitcoin absolutely nukes, like let's say we do end up testing 48K or 50K right away and the market absolutely jumps off a cliff and we jumped back to 30K really quick, yeah, the altcoin market might get a little spooked. But if we just see some natural pullbacks with Bitcoin and, kind of like what we're seeing right now, right? I mean, Bitcoin, yeah, so far it has found some resistance, but it's just basically ranging. It's not, the market isn't getting spooked and absolutely nuking. So as soon as we're seeing that the bulls are ready to step back in, setting higher lows and that kind of thing, I mean, that's where confidence is really entering the market, and that's when altcoins are able to really take advantage because people get their gains on Bitcoin. They get a little bit greedy. They just want to diversify a little bit, just having more money to play with in general. Then obviously that money can move around to other projects. I just want to see what the Bitcoin dominance is doing right now, actually. I'm going to... Oh man, I haven't looked at this chart in a long time. Let's just remove some things. How is this looking? Let's just try and map out some random diagonal trend lines here. That's interesting. There's our perfect third touch point. Basically right now. If Bitcoin dominance jumps off a cliff here and gets rejected, so there's a couple different ways we can look at this. A lot of people think that if Bitcoin dominance is going up, that the market's in a bad place because everybody's trying to sell and whatever. But the thing is, if Bitcoin dominance is going up and the price is not going down, if people are not just getting into Bitcoin because it's easier to off ramp and that kind of thing, if the dominance is going up and the price is staying the same or going up, then Bitcoin is in a very good position. And I think that's where we kind of see that the market is really focused on Bitcoin. And that's kind of where we see, like during the ETF news, whether it's fake or legit or anything like that, that's where we start to see that Bitcoin's actually outperforming the altcoin market, because we all know, generally speaking, if Bitcoin's doing well, altcoins are doing better. If Bitcoin's doing shitty, shitcoins are getting absolutely hammered on. But there is the chance that if Bitcoin dominance is going up and the price is kind of staying the same, that yeah, the focus is there. And then Bitcoin has its little run, and then from there, Bitcoin dominance can end up dropping, and that's where profits can end up going into the altcoin market. So this is one of those cases where, hey, Bitcoin dominance is at resistance. If this can get rejected here, and Bitcoin dominance starts to go down, but the price of Bitcoin just kind of stays stable, that's where I think the market's in a very healthy position, and that's where altcoins are really going to go for a run. Yes, I can take a look at a couple of those yet. Just let me catch up on the messages here, Leggies. And by the way, are any of you in any positions? I mean, I assume a lot of you are in spot positions. Is anybody in leverage positions right now? It looks like I am still holding on to my long for now. I've already taken some profits, and I'll get stopped out in a profit on the rest when that happens. But Atom and Big Time. Nice, nice. Both good movers lately. Yeah, let's check this one out. Thump. Good to see ya. Let's check KuCoin on this one. Holy, I remember Kieran talking about this one. Congratulations, whoever took him up on that, and a beautiful call by him. What was it, like a 16x or something? Yeah, that thing just absolutely blew up. Obviously, with something like this, if you never got in those lower levels, I mean, obviously, yes, momentum could be on its side. I don't know what the market cap is on this or anything like that. I know nothing about the project, but obviously this was one of those cases where we had a beautiful falling wedge. I can just... eventually, when you've mapped out these patterns enough times, you can just picture them before you even start mapping them out. But again, just beautiful 1, 2, 3 perfect touch points, end up breaking above, just kind of flatlining, and then just absolutely blowing up to the upside. That was absolutely wonderful. I don't hold any of that, but congratulations to anyone who does. Looking for resistance levels. I mean, at this point, there's really not much until up at these higher levels. This is on a weekly chart. Something like so for resistance levels. If I were to pull a Fibonacci, let's see where our fib levels are. So we're about halfway to the first fib. How much more is that to there? Another 100% to the upside if we do end up testing that fib level. Obviously testing some of those much higher fib levels. Yeah, still a lot of potential if this thing is going to do some sort of a retrace to the upside, kind of reclaim some of these losses here. Yeah, I can try and zoom in a little bit here, just because obviously the structure's hard to read when it's just absolutely parabolic like that. One thing to be a little bit cautious of, I mean, right now, yes, it is nice that we are forming some sort of a support level. Make that green so it's easier. Yeah, we obviously had this pivot here, finding support at this level and even consolidating above it right now. The unfortunate part about this is invalidation for this, if I was looking for my higher low, is actually all the way down here. So that's actually quite a move to the downside if it does see that retrace. I mean, that's a 60% correction to the downside. Not saying it has to happen. Just something to be a little bit cautious of. Let's see what the other indicators are saying. Kind of in no man's land on the other indicators. Let's see if the advanced trend is saying anything. Well, no surprise there that the W's are obviously trending to the upside. We have not actually got a higher low W on this thing yet. That's something that I would consider maybe starting a bit of a spot position, since I did miss out on this entire move. I'm not just going to FOMO in right now, obviously, after a 16x. But if we end up, pulling back, see some sort of a W form, or, it could even be up here, I would consider buying a little bit of a spot bag on that, because just like I showed you on some of those other charts, man, those upward sloping or those upward trending W's can be such nice entries, especially on a spot position where it's a little bit less risky. What else? Oh yeah, tons of altcoins coming in here. VET. Let's take a look at VET. Old V-chain. Oh, that has been mooning quite well, as obviously as well. Once again, we have a whole bunch of higher highs forming on these W's, but no higher lows yet. And that's one thing, is obviously it's not going to be perfect every time when I'm talking about that strategy. We actually don't end up getting that signal sometimes. But even the fact, again, just using this as confluence, if not for entries, just seeing these W's trending to the upside, that's just where I'm more interested in looking for long positions at that point. It's because those are hinting at more upside price action. Looking at support, resistance, nice to see that we did here. Just looking at basic structure, we had this low, a lower low. This would have been our lower high structure. And we actually did break above that. One thing to consider is obviously this is a very large swing here on the daily chart, but it is nice to see that that downtrend was broken there. If we were to see some kind of a crazy pullback, again, that's where I'd start looking for Fibonacci's, pulling from our current bottom to wherever we end up topping out. If, let's say, we reversed right here, it would obviously be like this. If it ends up pumping a little higher, then so be it. But as it stands right now, something similar to like that. Let's say Bitcoin does get that hard, that hard market nuke that a lot of people are expecting, myself included. Let's just say it happens right now for some reason. Whatever, some sort of black swan event, and the altcoin market gets absolutely hammered. I think that's at that point, that's where we start looking for some of these Fibonacci retraces. But I don't know, like I said, if this is going to be a strong trend, I would be more so looking, especially if the bull market is going to, continue on nicely. That's where I'd be more so looking at the 382, because if this trend is going to be strong, that's where I would like to start finding some support. And on top of that, we did have this higher high. This is our higher low structure on this current staircasing move. So that's kind of the invalidation level if we drop that box. Let's see if we can find any sort of diagonal support. Just mapping out some random trend lines here to watch for. If we do see some kind of a pullback, I'd do something like that. And just basically curling them to the upside. That's basically all we have to go off of right now for something like that. See if I can find something here. Yeah, a little bit of a... something like so. Yeah, that's a little messy. Yeah, if we end up pulling back, I'd be watching those diagonal support levels. And again, invalidation on a horizontal level, I personally think is more important. But yeah, sometimes those diagonal lines are nice for an early entry. If we end up, let's say, pulling back, test this line 3 or 4 times and then break, that's where I'm starting to consider shorting a retest of a line like that. But as it stands right now, no reason to assume that's going to happen. It's just good to be ready just in case. As it stands right now, I'd be watching something like this diagonal trend line. Just gonna modify it slightly. So like I said, I'm picky about my exact touch points when it comes to trend lines. Something like that. Oh yeah, just seeing falling wedges all over the place lately. Falling ranges, anything. Just so many patterns have coiled up and broken out bullishly on so many different coins. What else? Solana, AVAX, TIA. I did see Solana flying today. Did it hit $100? I saw it at like 95 or something. Or 93. Holy, that thing is on a moon mission. Absolutely on a moon mission. This is one of those things, though, you guys, invalidation is so far away. Like, if this thing is going to break its chart structure right now, I mean, that would be over a 30% correction to the downside. So there's a few things to be cautious of when things get going like this. But yeah, that is looking beautiful. It is still staircasing higher, obviously. Just momentum is definitely on the side of Solana currently. Let's take a look at the weekly. Oh man, I remember making a video right here and talking about thinking that Solana was a good buy. And this was one of those times where all the indicators lined up with each other. Where on the... this might not be the same chart I had. Very close, though. Basically, the price, as it was trading in this bottom range here, we had this reversal warning, bright green candles, once again just showing trend exhaustion for the bears, a bullish pivot here on the band oscillator, and as well the oscillator stack. I actually had the advanced oscillator down here at the time, but using the stack now, basically the same thing. But again, just showing that exhaustion for the bears as well as a bullish pivot. And this all basically happened down here right as FTX collapsed, basically. Yeah, beautiful entry down there. I'm not holding any anymore, unfortunately. I'm missing this current pump, so whatever. Can't hold them all. Looking for resistance levels. I mean, it's broken such nice structure on so many levels. Our next resistance, I mean, now we could start pulling Fibonacci's here, I'm thinking. Just pull from market top to where we bottomed out. Getting very close to that 382. Technically, if this was going to be a strong downtrend, we could expect a bit of a rejection there. I don't know how realistic that is on a time frame like this with this kind of a coin. Maybe that is, you know, when Bitcoin hits the 618. Maybe altcoins are more so hitting the 382. That's absolutely something that could be a thing. But yeah, as it stands right now, obviously momentum is on the side of a lot of these altcoins. The W's, we do see this high. We have a higher high. We don't have a higher low W yet. But this is on a weekly time frame. So, I mean, that could take a while. Let's look at the daily. Same thing. Obviously, we have W's trending to the upside. We never got any of those nice entry signals with a higher low W. But, I mean, still, just using this as confluence, just obviously momentum is to the upside because that's the direction the W's are trending as well. So I know obviously we can just zoom out and look at the chart structure. And yes, obviously it's easy to say that anyways. But at the time when you do see signals like this coming into play and you're wondering if that's actually going to reverse or not, very strong confluence being able to just see which way they are trending. It just really helps draw your eye to that. And just be like, well, these W's are obviously trending to the upside, just helping add that confluence that I also agree that it's trending to the upside. Great to see that the indicator is kind of backing up what I'm feeling in the market, right? AVAX. AVAX has been quite a mover as well. Oh, man. I didn't realize it pumped that much. Same thing, W's are starting to trend to the upside, but again, a lot of these altcoins never did get that daily high or low, but I guess that's where we can zoom in a little further. I'm guessing the 4 hour probably had a whole bunch of them. Yeah, once again, guys, look at this. W's trending to the upside, boom, get our high or low. Look at that entry. Right on candle close there, boom. What would that have got a person? And again, these ones were also a little bit higher than this, but looking at that kind of a move, what kind of a signal, what kind of a percentage are we looking at with that signal? 140% on that signal. Like, that is so powerful, you guys. Like I said, that's something that I really aim to make you guys professionals at using these strategies. And that is something that I hold your hand a little bit through with the one-on-one mentoring, really aim to just maximize the efficiency on these kind of signals, whether it's scalping, swing trading, spot investing, all of it, guys. Such powerful confluence, great strategies. Mix that with Fibonacci's, my two favorite things. What can we look at as far as market structure? We're obviously closing candles above this resistance we had here. So invalidation, in my opinion, would be, this would basically be our higher low structure currently. If we drop that, I think there's a bigger potential that we drop quite a bit further. And honestly, we could get some kind of a bounce in that case, guys. Much like the other way, like I was saying, waiting for those pullbacks. Very same thing. If we do, there's a lot of ifs between now and then, but if we end up closing candle bodies below that resistance, or that support rather, obviously it makes a lot of sense that we would see some kind of a bounce. And if you're looking at that trend actually reversing and shifting to the downside like that, that's where I start to look for that bounce and pulling those Fibonacci's and looking for those fib targets. Or seeing that structure break and then seeing the W's also shifting direction. Things like that. Great entry strategies. Tia pissed me off. I'll bring it up, but I'm mad about it. Because Bing offered my followers an airdrop of Bing in early November at about $2, and they didn't let me take part in it. And now it's up 500%, and I wasn't allowed to take part. So now I'm mad at this one. And I mean, it's still got nice signals though. Like, look at this. We obviously have these W's basically trending to the upside. The odd fake out here, but obviously the bottom ones are not in agreement with that. And we just have higher low, higher low, higher low. Look at all those beautiful entries once again. Every one of these higher lows was an absolutely beautiful entry. Can I show my settings for the advanced trend indicator again? Yeah, absolutely. Let me just bring it up. So like I said, I don't actually use too many of the settings, or the features in the settings rather. I have candle color selected, gradient 1, just because that's what I like, with inverted color. I always have, usually have trend 1 and trend 2 active. That's not really for what I'm looking at right now. I could definitely turn that off when I'm zooming out. That's more for when I am scalping. Basically, I have, when I am looking to scalp, actually, I'll go into that in a little bit here. I'll take a look at the 1 minute chart on Bitcoin and look at that. But yeah, how I normally have it is just like this. The only things I really have is the reversal warnings I have checked, and supply and demand, and that is pretty much her. I keep it pretty bare bones. I find that if I have too many signals on there, some of them start to overlap, and then I start to lose focus on my own strategies. So I just personally like to keep it simple. I'm a simple person. I keep my trading simple. But yeah, I can show you more so what I mean with all the trends like that. I'm actually going to even remove these fibs just because... Actually, I'm going to remove all my drawings for now. So I'm going to turn on more of my advanced trends, and some of you guys might be familiar with this, have seen Thumpcase. He has strategies kind of based around this as well. But just basically pulling up a whole bunch of the EMAs in my case, whatever moving averages you tend to like. So basically what I'm doing here is I am on the 1 minute chart, but I'm seeing what EMAs on many different time frames are saying basically. So even though I'm zooming into real degen levels, whether it's a 1 minute chart, a 15-second chart, 5 minute chart, whatever, I generally have all of these trends active from basically 1 minute, 3 minute, 5 minute, 15 minute, 1 hour, 30 minute, 15 minute. So yeah, basically, since you can only have 2 trends up with the indicator at a time, have multiple versions of that same indicator up, but obviously I have candle color unchecked on all the rest of them, and all the signals are unchecked on all the other ones other than my main one. That's just so that I can bring up more of these EMAs, so I can, even though I'm looking at a shorter time frame, I can kind of have a general view of what the longer time frames are doing. And that's where you start to see, you know, right here, for example, we start to see all these bullish crosses. Just a bit of a hint that, hey, the market may be ready to take a little pivot. We might be starting to get some upward momentum here. That's where, you know, looking for higher sloping W's and stuff like that can, and looking for Fibonacci pulls, Fibonacci retraces, and that kind of thing. When we start to see that the trend is flipping bullish like this, that's kind of why I like to use a whole bunch of those advanced trends. But yeah, Just kind of rambling a bit off topic there. My simple settings are just inverted color, trend 1, trend 2, reversal warning, supply and demand. Keep it very simple with that. Hopefully that helps. If you have any questions, just shoot me a message. Holy smokes, we've been at it for an hour and a half. Time flies when you're having fun. I guess I should probably think about going to get something to eat. No wonder I'm so hungry. Do any of you guys have any last minute questions? Questions, concerns, recommendations? By all means, let me know if there's anything you want me to do differently in future streams, things you liked, didn't like. Hopefully you're finding some sort of education out of these streams. Hopefully let me know if you've used some of these strategies, if you've had good luck, if you don't know where you're going wrong, that kind of thing. Yeah, I know I've seen a few people say that they've added some of my strategies or parts of my strategies into their own. So love to hear it. Love talking crypto with you guys and talking strategies and stuff, because honestly, it's so nice having a group of traders like all of us. Just as far as being able to keep a level head, it's so much easier battling these crazy markets when you have a team of people with you. So I love being a part of this community. Hopefully you guys do too. I'm sure for those of you who are new around here, I'm sure you've already noticed that everyone's willing to help. Nobody's out for blood. Everybody's here to help each other and just crush this bull market together. So yeah, bro, we'll definitely hop on voice again. I don't really have anything going on Saturday, but I'm going to be out of town for Christmas for a few days and stuff. But I'm assuming, actually, what day is next Thursday is the 28th. I assume I'll be doing a stream next Thursday as well. Usually do one a week. And then, yeah, on top of that, if you're ever around, usually everyone's always busy during the holidays and stuff anyway. So I would love to, at some point, hop on the chat, just hang out, chill vibes with you guys, see if we can get some scalping going on, that kind of thing. That would be a lot of fun. Maybe have a couple holiday drinks. Can I pull up the volume delta indicator? Yes, that is another one that I do use a little bit. Basically, I use this just the point of control, I think, is just another bit of confluence, obviously a significant level that, the market's finding this as a pivot point, obviously. I see a lot of traders talk about the point of control. I've never actually really used it until this indicator had been added to our arsenal here. I am liking using it as a bit of confluence. I don't know if I'm using it as efficiently as I could or not yet. Volume heat map. I've actually never used this, so I don't want to give you the wrong info. But I'll definitely take a look. Oh, that's interesting. I assume that's just showing liquidation levels. You saw it in your dream. That's funny.
Hey, bud.
Yo.
If you go to the settings and just make all the for the volume delta, show you pretty quick. It's it just transforms it very quickly. So you see the large orders and medium orders. Just make them one color. For example, the very first color, if that's red, just make all three blocks red. And the same goes to medium and small.
Something like that.
Actually, each large order makes it, for example, just percent.
Oh, I gotcha.
All of them. You know what I mean? That way you get to see. You got it.
More something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever color that you think you can get accustomed to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's yeah, that way it's a lot more. It just shows you kind of. So the point of this, you see, whenever you see in the bottom on that wick,
Oh,
see, oh well,
I'm
like
just
whenever
switching
you see that
time
huge
frames
volume,
here.
you're fine. You could see it.
Yeah,
See how is that in the bottom right there, in that cross, the very bottom before the price took off?
yeah,
See how that little pocket of volume? Yeah,
yeah.
that's it right there. That's basically it. And I use that with your method, with the in the 1 minute time frame, and it is non-existent sometimes. But when it shows, it's an automatic signal. You know, if you look
Okay.
at if you trade some shit coins and that little pocket, sometimes you have to zoom in very, very in for you to be able to see it. And that's when that starts to show, that's when you know what you go to. I just use that like kind of as an extra of confirmation, like you say.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's pretty fun to use.
Yeah, definitely. And I like having more colors. But yeah, I'll definitely have to play around with that a little bit. There's still so many things with these indicators that I have not even had the time to go over yet, and I want to. There's just so many now between the two teams, and I just love it. I'm still like a kid at Christmas over these things. Maybe I'll take the time at Christmas to actually unbox some of these indicators. But yeah, I'll definitely have to think about using that. That's an interesting one for sure. Again, just adding it as a bit of confluence, right? Because obviously, what we want when we're entering positions is just the more confluence, the better. So, without getting too confused. Nice, nice, cool. Well, looks like we ended up setting a higher high W here. Might see a higher low come into play. Maybe see some kind of an entry on something like that. Obviously, we're going to have to see what happens, but did I get stopped out of my position? Let's just reload this chart here. Guess I could check my other device quick. BTC, USD, .p. I think this one was on that. Here we go. Yeah, here we go. Get back onto the 1 minute here. Oh, never quite hit my stop. Perfect. All right, Leggies. Well, yeah, I think I'm done here unless there's any more last minute questions or anything. Other than that, you guys make sure you have a fantastic weekend and an even better holiday. Hopefully, you guys are having some fun with friends and family, having a couple Christmas drinky poos, getting the holiday spirit. Whatever you're doing, stay safe. Have a great holiday, my friends. And yeah, if you ever want to hop on a voice chat or whatever, if we just want to get a group of people together and have a couple drinks or just have just a nice charting bullshit session, by all means, hit up the group. There's always people around. So, yeah. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Like I said, let me know if there's anything that you would like done differently in the future or things you liked, didn't like, anything like that. Hopefully you found some things. As quite often, you guys, as traders, all it takes is one person to say the right thing at the right time that it really just helps something click that you were missing, and it can be a total game changer. And I'm really hoping that through some of these sessions that we can have some of those things happen where just hopefully something I say just makes something click, and all of a sudden, boom. You know, it's just the missing piece of one of your trading strategies or something like that to really become more efficient or anything like that. So that's our goal here. So with that, my friends, if you are watching this stream a little bit later on my YouTube channel and appreciated this video, please do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't. If you want access to these beautiful indicators with the VIP Discord, as well as a couple no KYC crypto exchanges, I've got some links down below for some special bonuses, discounts, and so on. And we even now have, as I was talking about earlier, some one-on-one mentoring. If some of these strategies you want to become more efficient with them and that sort of thing, a lot of the coaches in the group are actually doing one-on-one mentoring as well now, so that is definitely something worth checking out. Other than that, my friends, with that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Merry Christmas. Peace.